Good morning. I hope everybody is doing really well whenever you watch this video, whether it's a replay or live. Welcome. It's so lovely to see you here. My name is Reen Rose, and I am here to start the conversation about what real marriage looks like. And today I want to talk a little bit about a comment someone made that caught my attention this week. I was listening to an interview, and one of the people said, "Why does my husband irritate me all the time?" It was almost a throwaway comment. It wasn't answered. It was just sort of in part of a joke and a laugh. But it brought me back to a pain that I know that woman was experiencing and that I had experienced. And I am sure there are a lot of people out there too who feel irritated. And it comes to a point where it's like you're irritated just about them being there. And you still may feel great love for that person, but they just drive you nuts, everything they do and say. And I was really interested in that comment because there is something magical, well, not magical maybe, but there is a key, there is a secret to this irritation. The irritation that you may well be feeling in your relationship often comes from unresolved anger. If you are sitting on a powder keg of anger, it will seep out as irritation. And it takes the blindfold off when you realize that, because you may not realize that you are feeling so angry. So if you're watching this and you are one of those people who knows that either you feel irritation with your life partner, or if you notice that they are irritated by you a lot, then there is anger involved. And it's really important to find where that anger is and let it be released. The only person who suffers from anger is the person who's feeling angry. The other people can walk away because we're all on our own paths. We all have our own lives. And I've seen this so many times in marriages where I'm thinking of one marriage in particular where neither of these people are even alive anymore, but there was a case where the husband was quite, this is the way it's going to happen. This is the money. He was very much in control. And as he went through his life, he mellowed. So by the time he hit his senior years, he was a very mellow person, easygoing, very lovely. But his wife had gone through all of this controlling behavior, his difficulties to live with him, all of these different things. And she had built up an absolute huge vat of anger that was being suppressed because over those years it hadn't been listened to, it hadn't been recognized, it hadn't been given airing, and so it could be let go. So instead, she went through her most senior years being very bitter and angry and irritated by her husband. She's the one that was holding on to the anger, and she's the one who ultimately spent her whole life living with it, not her husband. Even though you might stop and think, well, but he's the one who started all of this, and that may be true. But that anger is going to harm the person who is harboring it. If you are feeling angry, and it is very natural to go through a long-term relationship and have things happen that make you angry, but don't suppress them. Instead of just going, it doesn't matter, make sure you have a chance to air it. Now, your spouse doesn't have to agree with you, but they should listen to you and accept that you feel that way. That's really all you can ask. You can't make everybody agree with you, but you can have an opportunity to express how you feel and let that person say, thank you for sharing that with me, and try to come to some middle ground that works. Sometimes anger comes from little tiny disappointments that just build up. So you may not even realize how angry you're feeling. The times where a promise is made and then broken, or when you want somebody to help you and support you and they don't. All these little disappointments, these little letdowns can be little sparks of anger that by themselves aren't a big deal, but when you put 20 years of them together, they are a huge amount of anger. If you are feeling irritation, you may well have anger, and the best thing you can do for yourself and for your relationship is to find a way to let go of it. When I found myself in this situation, it was a make or break. I realized one thing had happened that had made me so angry that I couldn't ignore my anger anymore. I went to a life coach, and she helped me release that anger. You could do that. Or one thing I do now is anything I want to release, limiting beliefs, anything that comes along, I think, okay, I don't need this anymore. I love to write it all on paper, and then I burn it because I'm a bit of a pyromaniac. I love those flames, and that seeing those ideas actually being destroyed. But I've discovered that shredders work really well as well. So those are ways you can use, or reach out to another professional, see a counselor, talk to a really good friend, but find a way to let the anger go. You'll find your relationship is so much better because you can accept what's the other person is doing. You don't feel irritated by it all the time, and you also will be happier in yourself. So letting the anger go is so very important. I really hope that you stop and look if you're having difficulties with a relationship, whether it's a life partner or a friend or your children. Stop and have a look and see if there is anger underneath there, and let it go. I know it sounds like somehow, especially when we don't really understand everything that's happening, it's easy to think that I'm letting them off the hook if I'm not mad at them anymore because they've done this. It doesn't work like that. The anger is harming you, no one else. Let it go, and you may find that your marriage, your relationships are much happier for it, and more importantly, you're much happier for it. And remember, every relationship has its bumpy times. If you are feeling anger or you're feeling irritated, you are not alone. And that's the whole purpose of me coming on and doing all of this conversation work. Marriages are not Disney-like. They aren't. We go into them expecting they will be, but they're not. So we need to start that conversation and let people know that it's normal to run into differences of opinions and difficulties. That doesn't mean you've got a bad relationship. Thank you so much for listening to this. If you are here and you feel you can jump on and say hi, I would love that if you're live or on the replay. I know lots of people watch these and they don't really want to share that they've been watching them, so I understand that too. But if you can come on and admit that you are interested in this conversation, it doesn't mean that you have a bad marriage or a bad relationship. You're just interested in learning and growing, and that's what we all need to be doing. Say hi. I'd love to see who's on, and if you will have a question you want to ask, please do that as well. I will go through and answer any questions that come up. Have a fantastic week. Remember, look for the anger. Whenever it comes up, let it go. Thanks very much for tuning in, and I hope to see you again next week, Tuesday, 8:15 Pacific time.